All right, guys. So the other day I saw this video by Pixelated Apollo covering a game I'd never heard of before. In the meantime, a few people have been reaching out to me on my comments and in my Discord to ask me, hey, have you heard about this game? Because it looks really good. It looks very similar to how Total War battles are, or how they used to be, really, in the older games. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Why don't you check it out? So I reached out to the developer of this game, which is called Strategos, by the way, and the developer is a guy called Gabe. He was really receptive, really nice. He's very kind of enthusiastic about this game he's developing, invited me to his Discord where they have a great testing feedback area from other testers and YouTubers who are looking into it as well. And I really like what I see here. There's a lot of really interesting development and innovative kind of nuances and features in Strategos that really sets it apart from modern Total War at the moment. And I've really been enjoying it, actually. You know, there's a lot here to fix, obviously, but Strategos, to me, is potentially a future Total War competitor in the way that Ultimate Admiral and Ultimate General, those series of games, were to the sort of Empire Napoleon of the Total War series. This might be that for the Rome and Attila and Medieval 2 of the series. Now, as you can see here, I've had access to the game for a few days now, and I really like it. I've had the chance to play through Alexander's military career, reenacting his conquests and battles on the campaign side of things, which, just to confirm, is not a campaign map or agents, diplomacy, invasions or anything like that. You're basically going from battle to battle to battle, going through Alexander's campaign, essentially. And I'm sure in the future there are going to be other campaigns added in as well. I can envision, I can see a Hannibal campaign being here, a Caesar and Gaul style string of battles, or even Caesar and Britannia. There are plenty of very interesting conquests and kind of military campaigns throughout history that can be reenacted, just as you see here I've done with Alexander's as well. But that's what the campaign is about. The main focus, of course, is of Strategos is the battles, the battle side of things, the very large number, the multitude of different features and elements and nuances here that make the battles very interesting and challenging and different to how Total War does the battles on their game. So that's what I'm going to get into here. The first feature I want to talk about is how battles have been slowed down, and there is a very specific reason why this has been done. And I think especially compared to Total War, you can really see how things are quite slow. And the reason is because there's a feature here that is about delayed orders. So, in Total War, you point and click, you're constantly pointing and clicking. There's no real risk to you doing an order. There's no massive consequences to getting an order wrong, really. You can quickly cancel it or redirect it. Here in Strategos, if you give an order, there's a series of events that takes place. A kind of string of consequences. So you give an order, a courier leaves your general's unit to go to the unit that you've given the order to give the order. So there's a bit of delay there between the courier going and the unit receiving it. And then there's another delay between the unit receiving the order and actually carrying it out, right? So there are two different interesting delays here. And what that does is suddenly you've got an insane, much higher weight of decision making when it comes to your pointing and clicking in your battles. And that's why I think the battles are so slow, because you need to take the time to think about whether this point and click you're going to do, this attack, this charge, this retreat, this pushback stance that you want this unit to do, whether it's the right decision to make right now. And if you ask a cavalry unit to charge and it's going and suddenly the unit it's charging is turning around to face them with their huge spears, you do not have enough time to suddenly cancel that order. So you need to have the confidence to know that the order you're going to carry out is going to be successful enough that you are going to get the outcome you want out of it. And that is what's so interesting to me, just right off the bat, of Strategos and the battles here. Total War has nothing like this. The only competitor I know that had some of this kind of in the battles and mainly the campaign as well, actually, is Ultimate General and the Ultimate Admiral games. Especially in American Revolution, you had a sort of order delay response kind of mechanic in the campaign side of things, where if your army enters a fog of war, there's a period of time in which you don't hear from them unless you receive news from that army, and vice versa. If you want to send an order to an army that's entering fog of war, you're going to have a bit of delay before they receive it and they can act on it. It's a very kind of interesting, nuanced little mechanic here that, especially when implemented, as you can see here in Strategos, suddenly makes the gaming, the real joy, the challenge of what's going on here, have a new layer, a completely new level compared to what we're used to in Total War. Now, there is a lot more I can talk about here from a feature perspective. You know, units have stances, they have status effects, they have terrain that can hinder units depending on what kind of terrain it is. You've got a unit can go from disciplined to undisciplined depending on certain factors. It can fragment and then start routing, like there are chain routes, and you know, all of that has certain circumstances that need to happen for it to occur as well. And even beyond that, units actually feel like they have their own individual AI going on. So, you know, a unit that's in combat, you don't actually have to give it orders to have a certain stance or to retreat or whatever. They actually can do that themselves depending on how the combat is going, which is quite cool as well. So you can focus your attention on position, on countering the enemy unit positioning as well, and all that jazz, and routing. It's a really cool, interesting from a tactical perspective game here that's being developed in Strategos. But this leads me to the main point I want to make here, and that is, after a few days of playing the game, I realized something. I realized I was enjoying this despite there being little to no visual investment on my part. No immersion. I'm not interested in going up close, zooming into the ground level and seeing how the combat is evolving. That has no bearing to my enjoyment of this battle and what's going on here. And that is in stark contrast to how I normally feel in Total War. What I'm describing here is the fact that over the last, decade, Total War has turned, basically from Rome 2 onwards, I would say, Total War has turned from being a kind of mix of visual immersion and authenticity, looking at a battle and thinking this could really have been what it was like back in the day, and you being a general making real life kind of proper tactical risk reward decision making, right, in your battles. I think Total War has moved away from this formula to leaning a lot more towards visual immersion and spectacle. I'm not saying that, Pharaoh or Warhammer 3 or Three Kingdoms, that these games don't have tactical decision making in their battles. They do to a certain extent, but it's a lot more focused on you enjoying the battle for what it looks like, rather than how it feels and plays. And to a certain extent, I enjoy this too. One of the reasons why I love DEI on Rome 2 is because Rome 2 vanilla is such a bland game to me personally. But when I play it with DEI, there are all these fantastic looking units. Their stats are very similar across the board for a lot of these units. There is, to a degree, some bloat, but I love going into a battle and playing this 15-minute slog between Rome and Carthage, and zooming in and enjoying my hastati, my triari, my equites charging, fighting the Carthaginians. Like, there is a real spectacle to Total War, especially right now, and that, I think, is at the detriment of tactical gameplay in these games. Now, I bring this up because I do enjoy this, and yet I can see how having a more tactically relevant battle is a lot more fun from a gameplay perspective, and I think this is what Strategos does so well. I'm playing a battle here, and I don't care about what the units look like or what visually the game looks like. My brain is too busy making the decisions it needs to make, thinking about and making the decisions to win this battle, to actually do the gameplay of this battle to win against the enemy army. And I think that this is a quality that Strategos hits the nail on the head with. I don't think Total War has felt like this in a while. I think Total War, some of the games do feel a lot more like this, namely Three Kingdoms. I think, with a lot of mods, obviously, some of the games, mods make a huge difference. Original Shogun 2, Medieval 2, these are games that make me feel this way as well. But generally, Total War is much more spectacle, very little on the tactical awareness and decision making, risk reward side of things. Whereas here in Strategos, that quality is so present, it doesn't matter whether the game looks good or not. And I think that is an amazing thing. I think visual quality is something that can definitely still come later down the line in the game's future in the development cycle. The point I'm trying to make here is gameplay wise, tactically, battle awareness, all of that, the decision making you're trying to make. I know I'm repeating myself a little bit here, but gameplay wise, Strategos has a lot of qualities that I think Total War has lost over the years. And I think that is a really, really cool thing. It's given me a lot of joy to get into it, to play it. I hope that, Gabe, if you're watching, you're enjoying this feedback. I'm very much looking forward to where Strategos is going to be going in the near future, how it's going to be developing. And yeah, that's essentially going to be it for today, guys. This is my impression of Strategos and how the game is at the moment. I'm really hoping that, it continues, that Gabe, you have the drive, you've got the funding to keep going and develop this game and hopefully, develop it further and further to a point where people might consider it to be a Total War competitor, because it absolutely deserves one. And I think Strategos has the potential to be one. So that's going to be it for today, guys. Thank you for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video and found it informative. If you did, give it a like, drop any thoughts or questions in the comment section below about Strategos. Subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this. And thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.